The Philadelphia 76ers got their reality check last week when they lost to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference semifinals. But is it actually realistic for the Sixers to land LeBron James this upcoming summer? He's the big fish in a big pond littered with a plethora of talented free agents. And according to Philly.com's Keith Pompey, the Sixers are prepared to do whatever it takes to land the king. And he's not the only one. The Sixers are also prepared to pursue free agent Paul George and also potentially make a trade for the San Antonio Spurs forward Kawhi Leonard. So I've got a snippet from Pompey's report over the weekend. It states, the Sixers can't publicly say so until July 1st, but it doesn't take an engineering degree to realize the team is prepared to do whatever it takes to sign James, a four-time league MVP. Oklahoma City small forward Paul George is another free agent the Sixers have interest in, according to folks around the league. He would be a great fit because of his ability to shoot the ball and defend. Don't be surprised if they also try to acquire San Antonio Spurs small forward Kawhi Leonard in a trade. Sources have said the Sixers have expressed interest in the two-time All-Star. While he is eligible for a 5-year, $219 million Supermax extension with the Spurs this summer, there are reports that Leonard wants out after staying away from the team for most of the season with a quad injury. He played in only 9 games. Leonard has a great relationship with Sixers coach Brett Brown. However, trading for him would be risky without first getting a guarantee that he'll agree to a contract extension. Leonard is set to become a free agent on July 1st, 2019. Pompey's report comes on the heels of Sixers head coach Brett Brown's exit interview Friday when he pretty much bluntly stated that the Sixers need to add a high-level free agent.
I think that a other, high-level free agent is required. I feel like we have the ability to attract one. If I were a free agent, and of course I'm biased, if I were to look at, how do they play, it's pretty clear the style of play. I think it's exciting. I think it's a modern-day way to play. If I were to look at the cultural aspects, I think we treat people well here. I think it's a great place to come in and be a part of a culture and a family. When you look at the city of Philadelphia and the sport-mad people that we have, when you walk through this door and say, well, I can come to work here every day, that's a pretty good package. And so at some point, when the time is right, I think we need help to win a championship.
It's not like the first time that LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard have been linked to the Sixers. ESPN's Brian Windhorst spiced up a scenario in April stating that the Sixers could sign James and trade for Leonard. This was during a segment on Sports Nation.
Just think about Philadelphia, for example. I can construct you a way that Philadelphia could trade for Kawhi Leonard and sign LeBron James.
Oh, my God.
That possibility
illegal.
exists.
Illegal. Cancel next season.
But I think the point you have to look at here is what happens to Kawhi. Whether he gets moved and goes to a place and LeBron comes with him, or he goes to a place where maybe LeBron was looking at, like Philly. Like maybe Philly does a deal and trades for Kawhi and then doesn't need to go after LeBron.
It's no secret that Philadelphia's showdown against Boston in the conference semifinals will be the first of many between the bitter rivals over the next decade or so. The Sixers obviously had an extremely difficult time matching up with the athletic and gifted wings of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Celtics head coach Brad Stevens used Brown's switching defense against him, creating mismatches with Redick and Bellinelli along the wing. Brown and Tatum made Swiss cheese of both of these guys whenever they got the switch. These guys are able to space the floor, but not able to defend. However, defense for Leonard and George are huge strengths, and they can also shoot the ball from deep. Obviously, LeBron James, not so much of a great shooter, but he's the best player in the freaking world.
I've said on record, I'll say it again, I believe that anything that kind of matters, probably you're going to bump into the Celtics, so they're always going to be sort of on our mind in relation to, how do you compete with them? We get with Kyrie and Hayward and Horford. You got 3 all-stars. We understand that, and some tremendous young pieces. And so competing with that, growing our young guys, while still, you know, admitting like our timeline and the expectations have changed, the ecosystem there is a challenge. You know, sometimes youth doesn't equal that. And so, you know, Brian will figure out the design of the team in relation to what we've all learned, you know, as an example, JJ, Marco, Irsan, Amir, you know, Bayless, like those are solid human beings and excellent players. So how you juggle all that to get where we want to go, winning a championship, is a challenge.
So what exactly are the Sixers and Brett Brown looking for in free agency this summer?
For the first time since I have been here, there is tremendous clarity on what we have. There's no mystery when you look at what is Ben Simmons' skill package. And there's no mystery of what is Joel Embiid's skill package. And so you say simply, what complements that? And now drape those qualities over the free agent market and say, yep, that fits him. And we'll all make our own assessments. I'm not here to tell names, but I can answer your question. And it's clear what we have in those 2 players. So to me, equally, the answer becomes clear too.
And if the Sixers do in fact add a ball-dominant player, Brown believes that he can make it work with Ben Simmons.
If this player you're describing was great, we'd figure it out. Truly. You know, we'd figure stuff out. And it's as honest and as simple as I can answer that.
The Sixers have about $30 million in salary cap space at the moment, with James projected to make it about $35 million next year. The Athletics' Derek Bodner, or Derek Godner, according to some people, because, well, he's a god, he tweeted out a scenario that would give Philly $32.5 million in cap space to work with. Philly is one of the few teams in the NBA that can sign James without having to surrender one of its fundamental pieces. So that's LeBron. Now, when it comes to Kawhi Leonard, obviously the Sixers would have to surrender a core piece in a potential swap for the small forward. The popular proposal that's been made right now has included Markelle Fultz, the Lakers pick, depending on what happens during Tuesday's NBA draft lottery, and either Dario Saric or Robert Covington. I'm curious to see how that plays out, because I remember last summer when the Pacers initially traded Paul George, all the Thunder had to give up were Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis, and that surprised the hell out of a lot of people. Obviously, the Pacers thought a lot more highly of Oladipo and Sabonis than the rest of the NBA, and as we've seen this year, Oladipo has become a big star. So I'm really curious to see how all this plays itself out. Now, George basically is most likely only staying 1 year in Oklahoma City, whereas Leonard, I would hope that there's an extension in place once he comes over, if he does come over to the Sixers. I mean, obviously he's set to become a free agent next summer. So if you give away a big package for Leonard, you better make sure that he's going to agree to an extension. I also wouldn't want Leonard unless I know that James is also in tow. If James comes to Philly, then all of a sudden that makes me want to give up Fultz, the Lakers pick, and Dario for Leonard. I think that trade would make a lot of sense. I think it would work. You have a big 4 in James, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Kawhi Leonard. That big 4 versus the big 4 Golden State, that's going to be a lot of fun in the NBA Finals. That's one devastating quartet for the Sixers. And it's a quartet that might bring multiple championships and multiple parades down Broad Street. Let's complete the process.